Hey everyone, Tsetsuko here again, back with another Smite Champion video. I'll let you in on a secret. I recorded this one right after the other one, so there's really no time in between, but let's pretend that there is. So I'm back with another episode, and just like the last episode, we're going to take a look at a god from each of the different roles that you're able to play in Smite. First up, we're going to take a look at Baccus, the Roman god of wine. Baccus is a guardian, so he's a tank-style character. Take a look at his skins. This is his default skin. He's got a big jug of wine and some sort of giant drumstick. He has the Regal Reveler skin, which gives him some gold touch-ups. This is the skin you can purchase with in-game currency. You've also got the Father Krishmash skin, which is currently not available. And then, of course, you have the golden skin and the legendary skin. And once again, if you have not seen the previous videos, in order to get a golden skin, what you have to do is get this particular god to Mastery Rank 1. To do that, you have to earn enough worshippers to reach Mastery of Rank 1. You get worshippers for matches that you are victorious in. And, excuse him. So right now you can see I've got 12 worshippers, which is maybe like 1 or 2 games that I've won with him. And you can see that when I get 50 worshippers, I will reach Mastery Rank 1, and that will allow me to purchase this golden skin if I choose to. And if you want to be specific, you can see here I won 1 game with him and lost 2 games. I'm assuming these are all jousts. I've had terrible luck with jousts. But anyway, this is Baccus and all of his skins. Also, for the legendary skin, you have to reach Mastery Rank 10 with this particular god. So if you see someone load in with a legendary skin, they are probably pretty darn good with that particular god that they're playing. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump in here. We're going to go to the jungle practice area, and we're going to take a look at Baccus's abilities and to how he plays. So Baccus is all about getting crunk and messing people up. So for each one of these gods, you're going to see me. I'm going to sit here and level up. And so you're going to have to bear with me as I get to level 20 and upgrade skills and buy items and stuff. It only takes about a minute, so... Alright, so like I said, Baccus is a guardian style character, so he's like a tank, and you can see that his auto attack here is just a basic melee attack. It doesn't have any progression or anything, so he just swings his club. His passive is the Drunkometer. He loves to drink, and as he drinks from his jug, he becomes more intoxicated, gaining buffs when he is tipsy and smashed. So at tipsy, he takes 7% less damage and gains 10 magical power. And when he is smashed, he takes 14% less damage and gains 30 magical power. And so how do you get that up? Well, basically, you've got a meter here that shows you whether you're thirsty, tipsy, or smashed. And you use your number 1 ability, Chug, to make yourself intoxicated. So Chug, he takes a drink from his jug, which gives him additional buffs, And he celebrates when he kills an enemy god, giving him 10% on his meter. So first off, just using the one ability, you can see will fill up your meter quite a bit. It fills it up more the higher the rank it is. So you can see right now we're tipsy. We're probably going to drop down to thirsty again. So we're going to keep staying intoxicated and take a look at his other abilities. So you also, notice that he does get protections when he drinks, so it's not just a means of getting intoxicated. You do use it as a defensive buff. His second ability is called Belly Flop. So he will jump into the air, and wherever he comes down, he does damage and knocks up enemies. And also, if he is tipsy, all enemies are slowed once they come back down. Then his number 3 ability is called Belch of the Gods. He lets out an obnoxiously large belch. He does damage every 5 seconds for 2 seconds, and if he's tipsy, enemies are stunned for 1 second and their healing is debuffed. And then finally, his ultimate is called Intoxicate. He smashes his jug of wine on the ground, intoxicating all nearby enemies and doing damage. If he is smashed, he also gains a magical power buff because of his anger over his lost wine. So this is in a pretty wide area around you, and as you can see, it does a lot of damage, and that Intoxicate debuff actually just makes you wander all over the place. You don't have any control over it. You can't stop moving. It'll just make you wander around everywhere. And that's pretty much all there is to him. I'm gonna jump in and just attack a couple of things here so you can kind of see the sort of damage he can put out. He does pretty good damage, and he's pretty tough as well. But that is Baccus for you. Not too complicated, but very interesting. So we're going to hop back out to the lobby, and next up we're going to take a look at an assassin, and we're going to take a look at Finra, the Unbound. Finra is a Norse god. This is his default skin. It's pretty cool looking. He also has the Frostfang skin, which is the one you can purchase with in-game currency. He has a Wreck the Hall skin, which is currently unavailable, but you can see is a holiday themed skin. And of course he has his golden skin and his legendary skin. So Finra is an assassin character, so he's high damage, low survivability. He's focused a lot on his auto attacks rather than his abilities, and he has very high mobility. Here we go with the leveling up again.
Minions have spawned.
So you can see his basic attack is just a standard melee attack. There's no progression or anything to it. His passive is called Unbound Runes. So he gains efficiency as he attacks. Every hit from a basic attack activates one rune up to a maximum of 5. Each of his abilities gain an additional benefit when used at maximum runes, and runes are consumed. Enemy gods that he kills will fully activate all of his runes. So normally, basic attack will get you 1 rune. If you kill an enemy god, you get all 5 runes. So his first ability is called Unchained. He leaps forward, dealing damage to all enemies when he lands, and at full runes, the leap will also stun enemies hit. If the leap hits a god, then the cooldown is halved. Just a pretty standard leap ability. His number 2 is called Seething Howl. He rears back and howls, inspiring himself with a physical power and lifesteal buff. At full runes, the buff is increased by 50%. His number 3 is called Brutalize. He pounces to his ground target location. If there is an enemy in the radius, he strikes them 4 times, dealing damage with each strike while being immune to knockups. At full runes, each strike deals 75% damage to nearby enemies. And then his ultimate ability is called Ragnarok. He grows massive in size, becomes immune to all CC while moving faster. He can bite enemy gods, dealing physical damage and carrying them away. Biting a CC immune target deals the damage but ends his ultimate. At full runes, his protections are doubled. I'm going to go over here. I will show you just what you can do. So we use the ultimate, come over here, and grab Ra, and you can carry him around. And you can see killing him gave me 4 runes. I've got all 5 runes available again. And so that's pretty much it. He's an assassin. He's used a lot in the jungle. He's got a lot of initiates and escape between, he's got 2 different leaps, as well as some speed buffs. So he's pretty good to get in and out of the jungle and take people out. Alright, next up we're going to take a look at Nemesis, the god of vengeance. She's a Greek god. She actually doesn't have her golden and legendary skins yet, but she does have the default skin and the No Mercy skin, which you can purchase with in-game currency.
Nemesis.
So Nemesis is a warrior, so she's kind of a in-between for guardians and assassins. She does pretty good damage and has pretty good defense. Obviously you can build her to be more tanky or more damage oriented. By default, based on the recommended build, she's going to fall somewhere between the scope of a guardian and a assassin.
With this, I will seek vengeance.
So you can see our basic attack is a progression of 4 different attacks. The first 2 deal normal damage, the third does 0.75% of the damage, and then the last one does 1.25 times damage, and also the swing time is factored in as well. So you can see normal swing time, faster swing time, and then slower swing time on the last move. Her passive is called Scales of Fate. Hitting enemies with basic attacks tips the scales in her favor, stealing a portion of her target's physical and magical power from items, stacking, and the stolen power is converted to physical power for Nemesis at 1/2 the value. So her power steal is 3% per hit for a maximum of 9% for 3 stacks, and the duration is 5 seconds. Her number one ability is called Swift Vengeance. She dashes in a line, dealing damage to enemies in her path, and can dash again within 2 seconds, but if you use an ability between the dashes, it will cancel the second dash. So, let me just see here. So she can dash. Her second ability is called Slice and Dice. She swings her blades, dealing damage in an area in front of her. Enemies in the center of her swing are struck for 2 times damage and slowed for 2 seconds. So this is a conal ability. You can see here it's got a pretty wide range, and there's that center section there where enemies caught in that red area will be hit for 2 times damage and slowed. Her third ability is called Retribution. She activates a temporary shield around her that protects her from all incoming damage. She heals for all incoming damage from non-player characters and a percentage of damage from enemy gods, while reflecting a percentage of damage back to the source. Hard crowd control effects remove the shield. So you can see here, it's just a pretty basic shield. It doesn't last very long at all. Finally, her ultimate is Divine Judgment. She chooses a single enemy god and reduces their health and movement speed and steals a portion of the protections for a time period. Her movement speed is also increased during this time. So we'll take a look at that, but Nemesis is a very a highly mobile god. Anytime I fought against her, she's always it's really hard to get away from her. But you'll see here with the ult, you see the sword's going to come out of the ground.
Quicker they are, the harder they fall.
So she's highly effective at chasing people down with the ability to dash twice. Next up, take a look at a hunter, and we're going to take a look at Acolyte Cobb, the god of bees, Mayan god. This is his default skin. He also has the Sting skin, which you can purchase with in-game currency, as well as his golden skin and his legendary skin.
Amasenka.
So, Acolyte Cobb is a hunter, so he is a ranged attacker, or ranged physical damage attacker, and the majority of his damage comes from his auto attacks. Very high damage, very low survivability. So you can see his basic attack is just a standard ranged attack, no progression or anything. His passive ability is called Bees. Enemies that are afflicted by bees take damage every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds and are revealed on the minimap. Bees will also attack any nearby enemies that aren't already infected or affected by bees, continuing to spread to nearby enemies over time. And you can see the damage per tick is 8, with some bonus damage from my items. So his first ability is called Hive. So Hive puts down a hive that provides movement and attack speed buffs to Acolyte Cobb. He also heals for a small amount every second while he remains close to the hives. The hives can only be destroyed by basic attacks, and he can have a maximum of 6 hives out. So let's take a look at his basic attack right now. That's the speed, no hive. And now I can put a hive out and take a look. It's a significant increase in attack speed. You see his attack speed is increased by 50% at max rank, so that is quite a bit. His number 2 ability is called Swarm. He summons a large swarm of bees that fly in a path in front of him, dealing damage to all enemies hit and applying bees. So with this move, you can see he's got a pretty long range. Shoots out some bees, and not only does the ability do damage, but it inflicts bees upon people, which does the damage over time and will spread to other enemies that don't already have bees. His number 3 ability is called Honey. He sprays honey at a movable ground target location, slowing all enemies in the area, and bees from the hives within 55 feet and bees from Swarm will fly over to protect the honey, dealing damage every 0.5 seconds and applying bees to all enemies as they leave the honey. So you can see we got a hive here. I can put honey out, and the bees will fly out onto the honey. So any enemy that runs through here will be inflicted with bees. And then his ultimate is Stinger. He fires off an enormous stinger that deals damage to all enemies in a line, sticking to the first guy that is hit and applying bees and crippling them for 3 seconds. Crippling in this game means they can't use any abilities that involve movement. So if the target dies or after 3 seconds, the stinger will fall onto the ground for 4 seconds, and if you pick up the stinger, you have a significant reduction in the stinger's cooldown. So you can see here 80% reduction in the cooldown. So it's a pretty thin rectangle. Fire it off, and stinger should drop. I guess I have to hit something with it. So he's pretty interesting. There's a bit of strategy into how you're gonna set up your hives. I'll put one up here, and I can actually throw down honey. And you can see without even attacking, like, she's just gonna take a lot of damage from the damage over time effect of the bees. So he's pretty straightforward. You just want to try to get bees onto as many people as possible and do that damage over time to them. And then finally, we're going to take a look at a mage, and we're going to take a look at Freya, Queen of the Valkyries. She's a Norse god. This is her default skin. She also has the Northern Light skin, which you can purchase with in-game currency, as well as the Frost Maiden skin, and of course her golden skin and her legendary skin.
Freya.
So Freya is a mage character. She's high damage, low defense, and the majority of her damage is going to come from her abilities rather than her basic attacks.
Minions have spawned.
So Freya's a little bit weird. You consider her basic attack doesn't have any progression, but she's the only mage right now who has a melee auto attack. All other mages have ranged auto attacks, but she has a melee auto attack. So her passive is that her necklace grants her additional magical life steal. So right now, magical life steal is at 15% just by default, without having to purchase any items. Her number 1 skill is called Irradiate, and she activates a buff that makes her basic attacks do additional magic damage. So let's take a look here. Come over to this camp, and we will do just some regular basic attack. See, we were hitting for 162 damage. Now I'll come over here and we'll activate her Irradiate ability and see how that does. You can see that does a significantly larger amount of damage. We had that 162 plus an additional 202 on top of it from the buff. Now her number 2 ability is called Pulse. So she activates a buff that makes her basic attacks ranged instead of melee, and they deal additional magic damage and slow the target and all nearby enemies. The area effect and slow is lost when Irradiate is active. So here we go. I'm going to use it. You can see that's pretty powerful. And like it said, you lose the AoE ability and the slow if Irradiate is active, but you do gain the increased damage, so we'll activate both of them here. You can see that it does quite a bit of damage at the cost of losing the slow and the AoE damage. Her number 3 ability is called Banish. At her target location, she banishes enemies into the air for a short time. The enemies can't be hit or take action while in the air. So you'll see I've got a little circle here, and when I use it, pops them up to the air and they can't attack or be attacked. And then finally, her ultimate ability is Valkyrie's Discretion. She uses her Cloak of Feathers to fly above the battlefield, where she fires down blasts of magical damage up to 4 times while flying. She can't be hit when at full ascension and can right-click to cancel the ability early. So let's jump back over here. I'll show you the ultimate. Is Freya. She's pretty interesting melee mage. She's one of my favorite mages. I just really like the fact that she's melee and a mage, and I really like the activate ranged attack component to her. So that's the end of the gods that I'm going to be looking at today, but I am going to take a moment to tell you about this area that I'm in here. This is the practice jungle, and as you can see, you can step in and out of the centerpiece to level up to level 20, and you had like 100,000 gold, so you can purchase all the items that you want. And the cool thing about the jungle, the practice jungle, is even if you don't own all the gods, or if there's some gods that you're missing, you can play all the gods for free in the jungle practice. And what this lets you do is this lets you practice a bunch of different scenarios. So when you're playing Smite or many other MOBAs, they have jungle camps that you can go into, and this will let you practice fighting each one of those. So for example, this one will let you practice on the monsters that will give you the mana buff. This one will let you practice on the mobs that give you the speed buff. This one is the damage camp. And then this is the Gold Fury lair. The Gold Fury will basically give everyone on your team 300 gold when you defeat her. Also, you have the Fire Giant, who will give all allies 150 gold, 70 magical power, 50 physical power, regen 4% health and 2% mana every 5 seconds, and give you 20% damage versus towers for 4 minutes. So he gives you huge buffs, but he is really hard to beat. As you can see, I'm hardly doing anything to him. And I'll try to take him on, but... as you can see, he's pretty tough. He is a mob that you generally take on as a team. This lane will let you practice last hitting minions. So you can get in here and kind of wait and try to practice getting the last hit on the different minions. This next lane will just let you practice against a enemy champion. They're not too smart though, so. And then finally, this one will let you practice on an XP camp from the jungle. So these camps don't give you any buffs, they just give you bonus experience to level. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to the next video coming out. We're going to be taking a look at Sobek, the Egyptian god of the Nile, who I used in my Learn to Play Smite video. And we'll see who else makes the list. Once again, thanks for tuning in. This has been Tsetsuko for Smite videos, and I will catch you later.